Now, the only place I wish to be lost, Ororo, is in your eyes.
Hello, Rivals fans, and welcome back to the Rivals Report, the show that gets you up to speed on Rivals Esports news in a nice, bite-sized package. My name is Diatonic, and this is the Rivals Report number 35 for the week of February 9th, 2026, powered by Gamer Advantage. On this week's report, we've got some breaking news for you as the lineup of partner teams of the Marvel Rivals Ignite series have been revealed. We'll introduce the full slate and talk about who they could potentially be signing. The first ever Mega Monthly was held over this past weekend, featuring some of the hottest prospects in competitive Rivals. We've got a full breakdown of the event, including highlights from some big matchups. Plus, the Scouting Spotlight returns for another iteration this week, and this time we're once again going giant-sized. We're breaking down the profiles of 4 Pro Rivals players you should know about ahead of the upcoming season. Well, we've got some newly breaking news here on this week's Rivals Report. As we get closer and closer to the start of the 2026 competitive season, we're finally getting our next big info drop. Earlier today, as of the release of this video, NetEase have officially announced the lineup of partner teams for the 2026 season. We've got your full breakdown of which orgs made the cut and some speculation about who they might be signing. But first, in case you missed it, as part of the major 2026 Rivals Esports announcements, NetEase revealed that 12 esports organizations would be selected as partner teams. Partner teams are organizations dedicated to running rosters and competing on the esports side of Marvel Rivals, and it comes with a few benefits for the orgs. Partner teams are automatically granted invitations to compete in the Ignite series and will have limited protection from relegation, though we're not exactly sure what those protections consist of. On the business side of things, partner teams will receive cosmetic bundles in-game for players to support their favorite teams, and they'll also benefit from a revenue share, meaning they'll earn some additional money from bundles sold. Several of those partner team slots are being taken by NA Esports orgs. Of particular interest, both 100 Thieves and Sentinels are making their return to Rivals after announcing pauses in operations last year. FlyQuest joins them as well, back for another year, and NRG is returning, last spotted in the 2024 Rivals Invitational. But as far as new NA orgs are concerned, Space Station Gaming, TSM, and Team Liquid are all joining the fray. Over in EMEA, we've got 2 championship-holding orgs returning in both Virtus Pro and Navi, with Spanish org Team Heretics getting in the mix as well. And for the Pacific region, we've got 2 known quantities as Asian esports org Gen.G and Reject will be signing on. Of course, as much of this has been settled behind closed doors, there's been a secret war, or maybe a secret roster mania, happening out of our view. Over the past week or so, numerous pro players and staff have been spotted posting the infamous signing gif on social media, usually indicating that someone is entering into a contract. It's no coincidence that the partner team's announcement comes right after this avalanche of signing teases, meaning many of these players are certainly headed for partner team rosters. Well, another week and another big third-party Rivals tournament, with this one focused greatly on the pro players in the scene. This is the Mega Monthly, a $9,000 invitational tournament featuring some of the heavy-hitting names in competitive Rivals. Ignite veterans and MRC legends like Navi, Lunex, Dreamland, Extinction, Shikigami, Yaoi Lost, Racecar, and so many more. This was a great window into what the competitive scene is shaping up to be in 2026, and an opportunity for some players to up their stocks ahead of the next MRC and Ignite preseason. 12 teams were invited to compete, with the teams being split into 2 separate 6-team groups. They'd play out 5 rounds of round-robin group stage action, with only the top 4 teams from each group advancing into the double elim playoff bracket. The tournament took place over 3 days, with feature matches being broadcast each day on both the official Marvel Rivals Twitch and YouTube channels. Vaudable, CB, Shibby, and myself were all brought in to bring you the action. The group stage was full of surprises, with Racecar emerging as the dominant team from both groups, not dropping a single map and taking Group B's first seed slot. Lunex crushed it on the Group A side, winning all 5 series, though they ended up dropping a couple of maps along the way. The Beasts and Merlin's Order, a team run by former FlyQuest player Light, would be eliminated out of Group A, and Shikigami and Intergalactic would be knocked out of Group B. There were a number of storylines weaved throughout this tournament, but perhaps the most surprising coming out of this tournament is Navi's run. They had a solid performance in the group stage, ending with a 4-1 record after dropping a close series to Lunex in the final round. But something went wrong in the first round of the upper bracket, as they'd take another 2-1 loss to Yaoi Lost, sending them to the lower bracket early. But Navi had become known as lower bracket demons, so the expectation was for them to run it all the way back to grand finals. But when they crossed paths with Lunex yet again in the lower bracket, they'd made a surprising endless at the hands of the former core of Sentinels. Yaoi Lost were also big players in this tournament. They raised eyebrows all weekend long with some unique team comps and out-of-the-box strategies that a lot of teams simply weren't prepared for. They struggled against some of the powerhouses in this tournament like Racecar and Dreamland, but took big wins over teams like Intergalactic, Ego Death, and Shikigami. There were high hopes for them, but they'd be sent home after back-to-back bracket losses against Racecar and Extinction. Lunex were a team truly forged in fire throughout this tournament. They had a relatively straightforward path through the group stage right up until their round 5 matchup with Navi. They'd pull through with a nail-biter of a win to score a 5-0 record in groups. They opened up the bracket strong with a matchup against Ego Death, but encountered a serious challenge in Dreamland, who played as Team Guilty in the previous MRC. They'd take a 1-2 loss in that match, leaving them in dire straits in the lower bracket. They'd come face-to-face with Navi once again and take a massive win in a barn burner of a match. They'd clean sweep Extinction to eliminate them from the tournament, but would have to overcome their demons in Dreamland in the lower bracket finals. But in the best of 5, they'd win handily, closing it out in just 4 maps to battle their way into the grand finals. And that grand finals was a collision course between the 2 top-seeded teams out of the group stage, so we were in for an absolute brawl here. Racecar had dropped just a single map throughout the entire tournament up to that point, so Lunex had a tall task before them. But Lunex would deliver Racecar a blow right out of the gate, taking a very dominant Krakoa to start off the series. Racecar had put the pedal to the metal over the next couple of maps, wresting away the lead by taking back-to-back wins on Central Park and Midtown, but Lunex were never too far in the rearview mirror. Lunex showed more signs of life by winning yet another domination map, taking Burning T'Challa and taking us to a cinematic map 5. It was off the symbiotic surface, and try as they might, Lunex would run out of steam after a rapid point 1 capture, and Racecar would cruise into the winner's circle with a 3-2 slugfest victory. And what a tournament it was for these teams! A fantastic early look into what the competitive season is starting to look like, but still an incredibly entertaining event in its own right. I was honored to be part of the team calling the action, and a massive shout out to BPL for putting on an excellent production here. And of course, major props to Mega Milani for masterminding this event. While the content creator and community events have been more than welcome, it's refreshing to see a brand new pro tournament go off without a hitch. And finally this week, it's a strategist special here on the Scouting Spotlight. In a game where the duelists tend to take the spotlight both in coverage and in MVP honors, we're highlighting 4 backliners who turn the tide of battle, help control the tempo, and keep their teams topped up in every single fight. For our first of these elite strategists, we turn to the Americas region for a player that's been in the scene since the very beginning. He's competed with a few different teams, but has always been a standout on every roster. He's the preferred backline partner of duelist Rymazing, and is without a doubt the greatest Adam Warlock player in the world. We're starting off with the embodiment of the Golden God himself, Kurova. Kurova's journey into competitive gaming begins, like so many others we profiled, in the world of Overwatch. He spent some time competing in the Open Division and the Contenders series, where he'd be part of a team called Cryx. There, he'd compete alongside DPS player Rymazing, who'd join Kurova when they both made the jump to Rivals. Kurova would sign on as part of Nightmare's first Rivals roster, and they'd find success as early as the War of the Realms tournament. Under the Nightmare banner, they'd also win the Rivals Invitational and clock a runner-up finish in the Season 0 MRC before their performance warranted them contracts with Sentinels. From there, Sentinels would run the Americas region through a majority of the first half of the Ignite season. They'd walk away champions of the first season of the Vanguardian League, pick up some Rivals Fight Night wins, and even earn the title of MRC Season 1 champs. That would all culminate in a dominant performance during Stage 1 of Ignite, where Kurova and company would take home the title of champions and an invite to the mid-season finals. But Sentinels would struggle in Guangzhou, being sent home early, and it became clear there was some trouble in paradise. Shortly afterwards, Kurova and Rymazing would depart the team and head for greener pastures with Dark Zero. Kurova would help bring Dark Zero to the Grand Finals LAN tournament after a top 4 finish in Stage 2, but would again land in the top 8 on LAN. As of late, Kurova's been competing as part of a team called Lunex, most recently earning runner-up honors in the Mega Monthly tournament. Kurova is a strategist player who very quickly built a legacy as a deadly Adam Warlock player. He essentially wrote the book on the triple res comp and manages to find success nearly every time he pulls it out. But he also brings some impact on other characters like Luna Snow as well as Cloak and Dagger. His ult timing is miles ahead of a number of his peers, and he knows how to turn a fight even though the deck is completely stacked against him. Certainly standing in a league of his own as far as the res comp is concerned, but Kurova packs a serious punch even from all the way in the backline. For our next strategist profile, we're staying close to home with another Americas region player. They didn't make their first competitive appearance until Season 0 rolled around, but they've been making strides ever since. Just as Kurova made a name for himself on Adam Warlock, this player has also made Loki a key piece of the puzzle for their own success. Get ready for some mischief with this next profile, because we're taking a look at FlyQuest strategist player Cooper-tastic. While Cooper did spend some time playing and creating content for Overwatch, he's also got some experience in the world of Minecraft PvP. He's been uploading content for those games as well as Rivals since 2021, but started to put himself on the map with the Season 0 MRC. He'd spent a bit of time as part of Rad's first ever Rivals roster, but would make the jump to FlyQuest just before the Marvel Rivals Invitational. They'd finish runner-up to 100 Thieves there, and go on to a top 6 finish in the Season 1 MRC. FlyQuest would struggle to get the ball rolling in the first part of the Ignite season, missing the mid-season finals after a top 8 finish in Stage 1, a surprisingly early end for that team. FlyQuest would put on the gas afterwards, winning both Season 2 of the Rebirth Circuit and Season 3 of the Vanguardian League. That was more than enough to prep them for Ignite Stage 2, where they'd improve drastically. After clocking a top 3 finish there, they'd etch their names in the history books by going on a legendary run at Grand Finals before finally being cut down in an intense match against Na'Vi. Cooper's Rivals' careers continued ever since, dominating the Season 5 MRC alongside the rest of Doom Crew, and most recently winning the Mega Monthly as a member of Race Car. CC, zoning, and positioning are the names of the game for Cooper. He's a killer Loki player that thinks outside the box to make himself a massive threat and one that's difficult to pin down. Aside from the God of Mischief, you'll also catch him on Invisible Woman and Luna Snow from time to time. Alt timing is everything when it comes to characters like Loki, and you'll rarely find Cooper in a position without options. He's come a long way in a short while and is poising himself to be the center point of whatever roster he goes to next. We're headed for EMEA with our next player profile, and yet again another player that's defined one of his mains. He brings high-level Overwatch experience to the table, having spent a bit of time in the OWCS. He became a legend overnight after a major play early on in the mid-season finals put him and Jeff the Land Shark on the map. We're covering none other than Navi's hungry shark player, Fate. Fate would first cut his teeth in esports with some competitive Overwatch, participating in the early days of the Face It League as well as the Overwatch Champions Series in late 2024. He'd migrate over to Rivals early and participate in the War of the Realms tournament as part of Ex-Oblivion's first roster. He'd move on and join up with a squad called Team 1 just in time for the Season 0 MRC, where they'd earn a respectable top 4 finish. It was enough to get them noticed, and they'd sign as the roster for Luminosity EU ahead of the 2025 Rivals Invitational. They'd improve to runner-up during the Season 1 MRC, but that would be their last big appearance before reverting back to Team 1. They'd qualify for Ignite Stage 1 independently, but would come under the Rad Esports banner just before the stage kicked off. And what a signing for Rad, as the team would immediately go on to place second in the stage and qualify for the mid-season finals in China. There, the Rad Esports roster would make their mark on Rivals history forever, winning the very first LAN tournament, and Fate would make a name for himself with some insane Jeff plays all tournament long.
Are you kidding me? Fate with a 4-piece right to the side. Will he jump with? Yes, he will. Fate with 4.
They'd be back to Team 1 status after the MSF, but not for long, as Na'Vi would come crashing into the rival scene, assigning Team 1. They'd clear Stage 2 as the third place team, more than enough to qualify them for the Grand Finals at DreamHack Atlanta, and they'd set out in search of their second LAN title. Virtus Pro would ultimately cut them down, but Na'Vi of course are still competing. They won the Season 5 MRC and EMEA, and participated in the Mega Monthly as well, though they were eliminated surprisingly early by Lunex. As mentioned a few times, Fate nearly single-handedly revived faith in Jeff as a competitive level hero, raising eyebrows across the globe during the MSF. But he's skilled on other characters like Cloak and Dagger as well as Luna. As both a pro and a collegiate Rivals player part of the Northwood University squad, Fate's a master of resource management and positioning, especially important being a Jeff player. His execution is clinical beyond belief, and it's truly no surprise that he's in the conversation for one of the best strategists in EMEA and the entire world. One more profile left for this giant-sized scouting report, and we've saved a big one for last. Not only is this strategist player positioned himself as one of the best in Rivals, he's a top-tier Overwatch player. And if that isn't enough, he's dominated a number of other titles, including League of Legends and even Diablo. We're taking a look at one of the top healers in the business, current world champion and Virtus Pro strategist Saipe. While many of the other Rivals players we've discussed here have another game they've accrued accolades in, Saipe couldn't settle for just one. He clawed his way to Challenger rank in League of Legends back in 2016, has earned rank 1 in Overwatch multiple times, and has even maxed out characters in Diablo 4's Tough as Nails hardcore mode. Saipe walks the path of success, and that hasn't changed since coming over to Rivals. He took home his first titles in Rivals by winning the War of the Realms tournament, as well as the Season 0 MRC alongside Team Cats. That team would go on to become the Virtus Pro Rivals squad, and they'd almost instantly become the most dominant team in EMEA. They made Rivals Fight Night theirs, took home the Season 1 MRC, and essentially didn't lose a single competitive match all the way up to Ignite Stage 1. Things went sideways for them there, as Rad Esports would send them down to the lower bracket, and Berbert Patapim would send them home for the tournament entirely, just barely missing mid-season finals. The Bears would come back with a vengeance though, taking the Season 3 MRC and righting the wrongs by winning Ignite Stage 2, finally securing their LAN invite for Grand Finals. VP would go on to run DreamHack Atlanta, cruising through the group stage, then blazing a trail of devastation through the upper bracket. They'd become the world champions by defeating fellow powerhouse Na'Vi, ending the year as the kings of the castle. Saipe isn't necessarily defined by a single hero, but he is one of the frontrunners in defining the strategist metagame. He blows minds on top-tier characters like Loki, Invis, and Luna. He brings utility to bear at the perfect times, enabling his teammates to become the demons that they are, all while keeping all of them on their feet. It often feels like as long as Saipe is alive and in the fight, the rest of VP will not fall. He's an insanely good player that brings a wealth of high-caliber gaming experience to the table, with Rivals becoming yet another feather in his cap. The Scouting Spotlight will return next week with even more pro player profiles, so subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. As rosters are finalized and partner teams reveal who they're bringing on, we'll be sure to put our focus on covering those players so you know what to expect from this year's competitive season. Well, that's all for this week's Rivals Report. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest in Marvel Rivals Esports. And be sure to follow me on other platforms including Twitch, X, and TikTok. And if your eyewear needs an upgrade, go with Gamer Advantage. Gamer Advantage provides high-quality, stylish frames equipped with blue light protective lenses to give your eyes a rest during those ranked grinds. Check them out at the link in the description and use the code Diatonic to support the channel and get yourself a discount. I've been Diatonic, you've been amazing, and I'll see you in game.